Hello everybody and welcome to Dynamic GT League's Expo Championship for race 8 of 9 from Tsukuba in Japan, a track we've never raced on in the league before. The circuit is 1.27 miles in length. It's got 9 corners. The first one's called Shell Curve, that leads to O'Sheets, and then Dunlops and Omnibuds and the invisible final corner. Quick look at the current standings. Demon R leading the way on 127 points. We've got a 17-point gap over Steve F1. If Demon R scores 4 more points than Steve F1 in this race, the championship is effectively over. SGP in 3rd place on 103. He's got a bit of a gap to Twilight in 4th on 88. Jason sits in 5th place on 79 points, while David Harp is in 6th on 65. Formula Gary in 7th on 62. And then we've got Rich Blues in 8th on 57. Jimmy's in 9th on 53 points. Then we've got Conrad on 42 in 10th, and Bunsell and SRI joint 11th on 36 points each. Hayes in 13th on 30 points. Then we've got Fluffy on 19, Mitch on 10, and our Pound still on 0. A few drivers unable to race today, but we'll see about the qualifying result for race 8. And on pole position we've got Steve F1 with a 102.100, and joining him on the front row is Jason, 0.154 behind him. And then look how close this is. David Harp will start 3rd on row 2 alongside SGP, barely anything between them. Twilight's in 5th alongside Demon R, hardly anything between them either, and between SRI in 7th place, 0.366 off the lead. We've got Fluffy in 8th place. On row 5 we've got Hay in 9th and Formula Gary in 10th. Then we've got Rich Blues in 11th, who did not set a time. As I mentioned, a few drivers unable to race today. We've got Jimmy, Bonsall, Conrad, Art Powell and Mitch all unable to race today, which is a bit of a shame, but on a circuit that is as tricky as this one, it might not be a bad thing. Right, have a good one everybody. Let's enjoy this race if we can. Let's hand over to the commentators. So here we go then, race 8 from Tsukuba, or is it Tsukuba? I don't know. Ray, what are you going to call it?
I thought you said Tsukuba.
No, not Tsukuba, no! The lights are going out, and away they go! So come on, is it Tsukuba or is it Tsukuba?
Tsukuba.
Okay, fair enough, I'll let you off. Steve F1, I don't know why I said let you off. I'll agree with you. Oh, Dave the Art under pressure from Jason. Steve F1 holding on to the lead of the race. Should mention, this is a very, very... well, actually, it's not that short a track, is it? It's just narrow and busy.
Yeah, was it just under a minute?
Yeah, just over a minute, actually. I think. Yeah, a minute and...
1 or 2?
Yes, right, something like that, yeah. We did see the qualifying result not long ago. And the hairpin, Omnibuds as we've called it, a definite overtaking opportunities. It sounds like Milo is trying to join in on commentary. Yes, Milo, that's right, it is bin day.
Jesus, he's in the kitchen because he was running about and everything.
Well, if you need to grab him and keep him calm, that's fine. On the pack cam, Twilight's having a bit of a battle with SRI, and Gary has dived into the pit lane already, going from an early pit stop as Ray dives into the kitchen to give his doggy a cuddle. See, Milo just needs a cuddle, that's all it is. SGP coming under a bit of pressure, taking Demon R, I think. A bit hard to see. Twilight still battling with SRI on the pack cam. There is going to be a lot happening around this track here today. So Twilight and SRI still side by side. David Harp still holding on to 2nd place as they make their way through Dunlops. I don't know why it's called Dunlops. I really haven't got a clue about that one. Yeah, so if we hear barking again now, we know it's Milo sat on Ray's knee. Oh, SGP trying to make a move on Jason down at Omnibuds. And hey, having a look at Rich Blues as well. Gary did dive into the pits, and the pit lane last time is something we might want to talk about, Ray, but we should mention as well that the pit entry is there on the right, and that's where the invisible wall is, just around this corner.
Yeah, and as we see Demon R and SGP side by side, Demon R, he's got ahead.
That he has, and someone else has got ahead is SGP with a different colour head by the looks of it. Yeah, I don't know if he got authorization to change his helmet, but considering it is the colours of the Ukrainian flag, I think we might let him off. Also, just in case Putin listens to our races, seeing as the FIA do, GT Sport do, and a few others do, stop you messing about, Putin. There's no need for war. So, as the song "War, what is it good for?" Oil, money, and politics is what the usual answers are. But yeah, we don't need none of that in our time. So yeah, fuck off, Putin. And if you are listening, don't take me out because of that comment.
As we see, SGP try to get back at Diminar, but he's not making. Not making it, as we've got Gary. No, that's not Gary. That's Rich Blues and Fluffy.
Yep.
Battling.
Oh yes, it is. And hey, having a bit of a look as well. I mean, this is it's a short track. It's a busy track. It's not an easy track to overtake on because, as we've mentioned, as we're making our way towards O'Sheets, this hairpin, if drivers cover the inside, chances are a driver is not going to go around the outside of you. But if you get compromised in a corner, you could quite easily end up losing 2 or 3 places if you get hung out to dry. So as these guys are making their way now towards Omnibus, the hairpin, Demon R, I'm sure, will cover the inside, and so will SGP. And SRI's got a bit of an opportunity. Fluffy can take a faster line through the corner, but they haven't really got anywhere to go at the moment. So drivers are really going to have to work hard at making moves. And a little lower down in the pack, if guys get side by side, it's going to slow them down a lot, and it's going to take a few corners to potentially complete overtakes.
Yeah, you've got to try and figure out your switchbacks throughout the whole track near enough, if you can do them, if there's enough time before the next corner.
Also, if you're going to go for a switchback, so let's say you like O'Sheets, if the car behind you sees that you've left the door open like Rich saw with Fluffy there, if you've left the door open in their name to do a switchback on someone, you might find that when you turn in, there's a car there because they see the space and they're going for it. We might see that happen quite a lot here. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things pan out. At the moment though, Steve F1 is opening up a bit of a gap. Dave the Arp's got a bit of a gap to Jason. Demon R's trying to close in on Jason, but it's not quite happening yet. SGP's got a bit of a gap to SRI, and SRI is coming under a lot of pressure now.
Yeah, he's got Fluffy beside him, side by side. How's it gonna work out on the exit?
Well, there's a little...
SRI staying ahead. No, he's not. Fluffy's still coming back at him.
I think they're still side. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Twilight up the inside of Fluffy. That's kind of what I was on about. Fluffy was trying to make the move on SRI. Oh, yeah. Hate coming in as well.
Yeah, he tried to follow it in.
I wonder if Twilight thinks maybe he was a little too aggressive on Fluffy, and so if Twilight was trying to give Fluffy the place back there, it's resulted in him losing the place to Hay. Hay now on the outside. I really should do Hay now on the outside. Yeah. But Fluffy's not going to be on the inside. He's going to be on the grass. Oh, and he's just tagged. I think that was Gary. I think Hay may have been trying to let Fluffy back through there. I mean, that's another feature around this track, Ray. If people do have a crash, it's not going to be easy to let people through. With it being such a there isn't really anywhere safe to do it other than the back straight and the main straight.
Yeah, that's the thing. You've just got to watch out about how you're letting people pass. You don't want to do it right in the middle of the corner. And as you say, the only 2 places I roughly see there is back straight and main straight. I don't think there's much room between O'Sheets and Dunlop, so it looks a wee bit too
I don't think there's much room between turn 1, the shell curve, and O'Sheets either, especially with the wiggly nature of it. Okay, we're already 7 laps into this race. It's going to be quite a few laps around here, folks. Dave the Op still keeping Steve F1 fairly honest. I said we'd talk about pit lane last time. The tyres don't take too much of a battering here, but we are going to see very unbalanced where if people go long. Demon are trying to have a look at Jason. He's having a look, but he can't do anything about him. But oddly, the pit lane loss time here is only about 8 seconds, so it's a very short pit stop. And the drivers were warned prior to the race that any driver pitting and not changing tyres to gain an advantage will be penalised for it, because the reason it's such a short pit lane loss time is because basically you're cutting out a lot of the final corner and you can go into the pits absolutely flat out, as SGP's managed to get past Demon R. I wasn't watching, sorry.
Neither was I.
No? I can only guess it must have been up towards turn 1, because Demon R's trying to have a look back at him, and in the background, oh dear, I think Fluffy got a little bit tank slapper and has tagged Twilight and Gary. Twilight should be okay over there. He's tried that line a few times in the Dirty Championships, so he managed to recover, but he is now last. So he's got a long way to go from there.
Yep. Unfortunately, somebody in the middle of a incident, there's not really much they can do if they're not in control of the car. Is Dave the Hart. Still not that far off Steve F1.
Yeah, also SGP closing in on the back of Jason. Jason's dropped off the back of Dave, so that'll actually help Dave focus more on Steve F1. Because this is one of those tracks where if you are harassed, you will go slower. As Jason will find now, if he starts defending, he's going to go slower. That'll slow SGP down, that'll put Demon R on the back of SGP, the pack will gather up again, it'll be a bit mental. Twilight, I think, has just pitted, and I mean, he was in last, he's just had a big off through no fault of his own, and up the inside, Fluffy past SRI, Hay coming through as well, Rich trying to get through SRI, maybe didn't quite realise that he'd snuck up alongside. Oh, he's having a look though now. No, he's having a look at the pit lane. In he goes. Nicely done.
And the tyre wear for between Steve F1 and Dave the Hart was not much in it. So the tyre wears for them both are okay there now. As we see, Hay getting the pecs at turn 1. Is he going to make the move on Fluffy?
Oh, just to cut off, Jason and SGP are side by side, the battle for third. It's on the main screen now. Jason covering the inside, there's Demon. Oh, having a look up the inside, couldn't get it slowed down though. But that's exactly what I was on about, Ray, earlier, about a guy goes for a bit of a switchback and may find another car there. Sorry to have cut you off there, but I just spotted on the pack cam that Jason and SGP were getting close. I think Fluffy and Rich are still battling. Yes, they are. As they make their way towards Omnibus. Fluffy up the inside!
He as well.
Yeah. He may have just caught Hay by surprise a little bit there. So they're still battling on the pack. Steve F1 has actually managed to open the gap a little bit to Dave the Arc, so maybe Dave's had a little bit of a difficult lap there. Fluffy going a little bit deep at the final corner, but managing to carry on. I just want to mention as well, Ray, you said something about driver in an incident, sort of not in control of their car, nothing they could do. I will just quickly point out there is a big difference between a driver having a crash and still having a crash and not being in control of their car is very different to a driver going way too aggressive into a corner and not being in control of their car. So there is a slight difference there for anyone that is interested in that one. Okay, what have we got? SGP still stuck behind Jason. Jason's doing well at the moment to fend these guys off.
He's kind of having it just in the middle of the road. Nobody can get by. As long as he gets his acceleration done at the right point, coming out the hairpins, he should be able to cover himself off.
Yeah, that he could. Okay, SGP closing in a little bit, but he's got to be careful of Demon R being right there. Because this is the thing, if Jason defends and SGP sort of sticks to the inside, Demon R may try and have a cheeky look around the outside, but Jason hasn't defended, and SGP hasn't either, so ignore what I was saying there.
Oh, Demon R tried an hour look. He tried to get his car tighter out the turn 1 shell curve.
Ooh, interesting. Looking on the pack cam as well, we've got a view from Fluffy backwards, as it looks like SRI and Rich are side by side now. SRI and Hay. SGP and Demon R have got a little bit closer to each other through Dunlops. Jason's got a little bit more of a gap. SRI and Rich still side by side. I think Jason might be a little bit safe here. Is SGP going to defend? Yes, he is. And this is the thing, if drivers don't defend that inside line, as we see here, Rich getting a tighter line through the corner, up alongside Gary now, although I think he perhaps didn't get the best of exits. Oh, who was that? SRI dipping a wheel on the grass. I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, you can get sort of alongside on the exit of the corner, but the outside line does get the sort of faster run. Jason going defensive this time. SGP up alongside, trying round the outside. This could leave the door wide open for Demon R. Where's he going to go? He has gone deep, hasn't he? Well, he's now side by side with Demon R, so instead of attacking, he's now being attacked. Is the head still? No, he's not. He's lost the position to Demon, and that's kind of what I was on about. If you get your attacking wrong, you could easily get attacked. That'll have bugged him. He'll have been planning on taking third. He's now in fifth, but he's got a decent run on the back of Demon R here. Demon R going defensive. Jason doesn't need to. He's got a bit of a gap. SGP trying to take a late sort of turn in for the corner as Gary and SRI side by side on the exit. Oh, I think Gary may have just squeezed SRI a little bit there. Oh, and look at this. Fluffy now on the back of SGP. Yeah. Oh, and 3 wide.
I think they've settled out into 2 wide, I think it went.
That's all right. Steve F1 still leading the way. Tyres looking all right, aren't they? Dave the Harp still second.
His tyres on his back.
SGP and Demon R were sort of nearly side by side again. I don't know if Demon R made a bit of a mistake there, but Jason's got a bit of a gap now. Oh, Demon R's wide. Ooh.
He's going to have to defend through Dunlops and backs, the little straight to the hairpin.
Yeah, he is. I'd say this is the bit where he'll have to defend. SGP's having a look. He may try going around the outside, but this is going to allow Fluffy to really close in as he has done and focus on his exit. But I think SGP will be okay from attack there. But this is fascinating to watch, isn't it? I mean, we saw Demon R get sort of half a car width wide at O'Sheets, and he then struggled all the way through to Omnibuds. Or was SRI going for a switchback on Gary? He's up alongside, nicely done. Can he? Oh, Hayes trying to do the same to SRI now. Is he going to be late on the brakes? Oh, I don't think Fluffy realised he was being attacked then. He does now.
That's alright. He came out behind everybody now.
Yeah, although I think somebody else may have pitted, by the way, because someone is behind Twilight at the moment. I'm not sure who that will have been. It may have been Rich Blues, I think. But yeah, I mean, down into turn 1 then, it looked like SRI, Hay and Gary were having their own battle, and perhaps Fluffy didn't realise that he'd left the door wide open, and perhaps didn't realise that 2 cars were coming flying up the inside. Gary's got a run on Hay. He'll also get the slipstream. The thing is, though, I don't think you really want to be on the outside at the final corner in fear of running wide. If you're on the inside, you can keep it tucked in nicely. SRI trying the switch back again. 3 wide to go. Good luck, Fluffy. He's aware this time. Look, he's defending the inside line. Gary going all the way round the outside of SRI this time. And Hay. Lovely bit of see, now that's a group of drivers that have just learned from what happened on the previous lap, and now Jason is right up the gearbox of Dave the Harp.
Yeah, and you see that tyre wear just coming down a wee bit uneven on the left hand side there.
Oh yeah,
and the cars, it's going to play a bit of a factor in a few laps.
That they are.
Jason's dropped back, but in Demon R's on the back of Jason now.
Yeah. Talking about being up the gearboxes, I found out today that there's an island off the coast of Africa that has mandated that all cars driven there must be fully electric. Apparently they're mad at gas cars.
Jesus. I'm not awake enough for that. Demon R on Jason on Dave the Harp. It's going to be a good wee battle here.
Yeah, it definitely could be. I mean, how far into the race are we? 17 minutes in? So we're getting close to the point of, obviously, none of the leading guys have pitted yet, so we're getting close to the point of halfway. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see pit stops coming soon. The problem is the whole field is pretty much right next to each other. Anyone who pits is going to come out last, but obviously it's a very short pit stop. So they're not going to gain much by pitting early, because if Steve F1 pits, he'll come out last, but then he'll get boost, but then he's going to be on the back of the pack, and he's going to... Oh, Demon R's into the pits! So's Fluffy. I think
somebody off in the background.
Oh,
Don't know who it was. Yeah,
it might have been Hay. I think SRI was into the pits as well. So this might kind of show exactly what was on about. Twilight making a move on Fluffy, is it? No, Formula Gary, sorry. So there's Demon R coming out of the pits ahead of SRI and someone else who was Hay. That might be who had the bit of an off at the final corner. So yeah, they've pitted, but obviously they're not that far from the back of the pack, which means they're not going to get that much boost for very long, because they're not going to have anywhere to go. It'll be interesting to see if any of the leading group react. Oh.
Yeah, if the leading group react, and Twilight went a wee bit deep. That's good for Rich Blues. Run up the inside. He's going to keep it there. They're giving each other a wee tap.
It's like, hello.
Yeah, I know. I'm here.
Ooh, side by
I'm here
side.
with my beer can.
Oh, Twilight all the way round the outside. He was brave there. Rich, I think, was making sure that he didn't nail Twilight, and that's fair enough. See, Twilight pitted some time ago, which would suggest to me he's probably going to be on a two-stop strategy. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because he's now, what, 6th? So you keep going for a bit and then pit again, might not be too bad. Demon R now on the back of Rich Blue, so it's only taken one lap. Demon R is now on the back of the pack, and is he going to be stuck? Maybe. What we've got though is Steve F1 heading up to Omnibuds, opening up a big gap at the front now, and the fear was Twilight is having a look at Gary, but Gary going defensive. Is Twilight going to go around the outside? No, he's going for the switchback. Oh, but Rich was there, making a move on SRI as well. Ooh, got it, Twitchy.
SGP trying to get a move on Jason.
What?
He's not managed to get it. SGP was alongside Jason, but never made it. SRI going round outside of Demon R.
Yeah, what a move. Nice over. Oh, he's off the track now.
Oh, it looks like he's giving the place back.
Looks like Fluffy's going up the inside of Demon R as well. Yes, he is. So Demon R under. See, he caught up to the pack in 6th. He's now in 10th. So, yeah, if I was Dave the Arp, Jason and SGP, I think I'd be working together at the moment to try and break away from the pack if you can, because those guys haven't pitted yet. And okay, the likes of Demon R, SRI, Fluffy, they are in the pack battle at the moment, but let's not forget they have already pitted. So if they're going to the end, as Rich Blue's making a move on Gary on the pack cam, as Twilight now catches up to the back of SGP, has a look around the outside, going for a switchback, is he? Having a look, but he's not going to be able to make the move. As someone was off at Omnibuds, I didn't see who that was. Although I don't think there'll be Gary. I don't think he'll be getting too much pleasure over there. Jason. Yeah. Okay, so
Twilight looking to go round outside. No, he's going for a switch. Is he going for a switch around?
He is. Yeah. Yes. Up the inside. He's not got. He didn't get close enough though. SGP's gone deep. There's the switchback. Twilight's going to be absolutely delighted with that one, especially with SGP getting big time sideways. That's not going to help his tyres. Twilight's
have
flying.
to watch from Fluffy now.
Yeah.
Do you think he was holding his tyres for a wee bit and going, right, okay, it's time to push?
Maybe, but Fluffy's got the fresh tyres, hasn't he? So.
Yeah, we've got still 19 minutes to go, so there could be more pit stops. We don't know yet. Yeah. Oh, Dave the Harp defended from Twilight. Twilight's on one.
Well, I think Twilight's gone for that sort of wider turn in, which is the faster way through the corner when there's nobody behind you, to get a decent run down this back straight. SGP under a lot of pressure from Fluffy. Fluffy on fresher tyres than SGP. Who's that into the pits? Dave the Harp. So Dave the Harp is reacting to Jason by the looks of things. Also, the pack is obviously closing in. Steve F1 is already going around turn 1 though, so I think the concern now for some may be that if Steve F1 has got a big enough gap, could he pit and come back out in the lead?
How many seconds is he needing again?
I think it's about 8 seconds-ish, something like that. As Fluffy, you were mentioning earlier, Fluffy was closing, he's attacking, round the outside. I don't think it'll work at O'Sheets. No, SGP closes that door with a wobble and a wiggle, and here comes SRI.
Yeah, in fact, and that just shows you go from one attack to one defend in a corner.
Yeah. You know what? I'm not seeing Demon R in this pack.
Is he pitted again?
I think he's pitted again because he's behind Dave the ARP. He's either had an absolute mare and he's gone off somewhere, or he's pitted again. I think he's pitted again. Maybe he realised he was kind of stuck in this sort of pack battle and thought, you know what, sod it, get out of it, get some new tyres, and have slightly fresher tyres than the likes of Fluffy, SRI and so on. But he is now behind Jason Hay and Dave the Harp, or SGP. Fluffy got massively wide then. SRI nearly had a go at him. Jason making a move on Rich Blues, it was. I had to work out who that was. Oh, who's that tyre? SGP, look at SGP's tyres.
Yeah, won't be comfortable to drive on.
Compare that to Fluffy's, holy cow. Yeah, no wonder SGP's sliding and Fluffy's on fire.
Yeah, so all we can do is try and hold up the pack, but when does it go? I've done enough holding up the pack, gotta get new tyres, and when does it benefit him?
Well, Dave the ARP trying to get close to the back of Rich. Steve F1 is into the pits. So, did he have a big enough gap? Where is he going to come out? I think Rich Blues has peeled off into the pits as well. Twilight, though, he's now going to take the lead of the race. Out of nowhere, takes the lead. Fluffy going defensive. SGP has not pitted. Where's Steve F1's there? He's come out. Yeah, he's come out in 9th or 10th.
He's behind Gary.
He's behind Gary. Oh, Jason having a cheeky little look at Fluffy. Oh, but SRI's gone massively wide. Oh, Sheets, here comes Fluffy. SRI will have the inside for Dunlops, but he'll be compromised on the exit because of the tighter entry. Fluffy may be able to get a bit of a run now down towards Omni. Oh, look at SGP. See, that slide in there is all to do with the imbalance of the tyre wear. SRI going to try going all the way around the outside. Is Fluffy going to tuck in? Yes, he is. I heard Fluffy likes tucking it in at the weekend.
Fluffy getting on the grass here. Yeah, the SGP's. When's it going in? Oh, SRI, is he looking to go out the outside around as a switchback? Oh, Fluffy, well, he's not doing a switchback. Fluffy's doing that.
And Jason's getting involved in this as well now, in between the gap of Fluffy and SRI. Up the inside now, he'll be covering himself. SRI around the outside. And interestingly, SRI's wide, that's not what I meant by interestingly. Oh, big sideways. Oh, Fluffy just misses him. Dave taking evasive. This is getting busy down in towards Omnibuds, and Demon R round the outside, hung out to dry. He's now got Dave the ARP attacking him, as Steve F1 is now side by side with SRI and formerly Gary.
Yeah. Well, that was good that nobody's went off there.
Yeah.
SRI still having moments, his tyres are still dirty.
And SGP still hasn't pitted, and Fluffy's now got Demon R pressure in the back of him. And before Steve F1 pitted, I was going to say it's interesting for the championship because Steve F1 leading and Demon R was near the back. That could have been a massive point swing, but Steve F1 pitting and coming out at the back where he did, he's now behind Demon R, and I think they're both going to the end. That could be problematic for Steve F1 in the championship. Demon R though, Fluffy runs a little bit wide. Dave the ARP under pressure for Steve F1. Steve up the inside as they're 3 wide behind them. Ooh, yeah, can't turn in there, Dave. There's a car there. I think that was a case of, undercutting someone's undercut. Sorry, switchback in someone's switchback.
Switchback.
Yeah. Demon R round the outside of Fluffy at the hairpin. And he's trying on Jason as well before Dunlops. I don't think Jason wants any of that. No, he's compromised both their exits a little bit, and here comes Fluffy and SRI. Dave the ARP's dropped back a little bit and lost a position to Gary as well.
Yep.
Oh,
It's all kicking off now.
yeah, Fluffy trying to go around the outside of Demon R, and Omnibud's not quite worked. He proper went for it around the outside though. He's got the slipstream off Jason, but as I said earlier, you want to be up the inside here, not the outside, because Fluffy's got a little bit deep. You've got to be careful out there. There's marbles. He may get attacked by SRI now, down into 1, as Gary and Steve F1 still back.
Steve F1, where's he going? He's away to get that cup of tea off Kate.
Yeah, off Twilight's lady. Oh, Fluffy trying to switch back. SRI trying to switch back. That sounds like broke back.
There's going to be nothing in it from here on because they're all bunched up together. Look at Twilight's lead. I think he's got enough time to pit and come out front.
Well, you know what might be helping him a little bit at the moment is the fact that SGP has not pitted yet, and it is kind of holding everybody up, because it's one of those things, if you defend in the right places here, Twilight's got a big lead, yeah, defend the right places.
Sorry, and Steve F1's nearly through it. Oh, he's through.
I forgot to say, yeah, if you defend the right places around this track, it is so difficult to overtake. Obviously, it can be a little bit more frantic in the pack when you get a little bit of extra boost, but it's not a guaranteed overtake. And if you get it wrong, Fluffy was a little wide. If you go attack him and you don't make him stick, you could lose places. So SRI, Steve F1 went big sliding as Jason and SGP side by side. Demon R nearly got in on it as well. This is all getting a bit bonkers.
Yeah, and look at that. the whole SGP stopped the whole traffic there. It was like a red light.
SGP parks it on the apex. Steve F1 ends up punting Fluffy into the next country. I see SGP still sliding around.
Yeah, he's holding everybody up, so when you get to the corner and the Concertina effect happens, people are just going to have to be bumped.
It's not just that, right? SGP into the hairpin was quite slow. Jason had a look around the outside, left the door wide open. Demon R has a look. Steve F1 nearly put SRI in the pit lane there, as I think somebody pitted the Rich Blues and spun off at the final corner. Oh dear, we've got 3 wide, is it? Demon R here. Jason, where's SGP? SGP has pitted. Demon R try.
Wait, I think he's looking for a switcher route.
I think Fluffy is as well. He's done it.
He's done it, yep. Neither Harp couldn't get his switcher route.
Fluffy! If you're gonna do a switcher route, you gotta make sure you close the door at the next corner.
You gotta watch because Demon R's on the outside. Steve F1 could have got his nose in there.
You know, I'm wondering if Demon R actually backed out and let Fluffy have that position. I didn't see SRI. I saw Fluffy go big time sideways there. Demon R gives him a little bit of a tap. But yeah, I'm wondering whether Demon R sort of allowed Fluffy. Twilight's into the pits. This is crucial.
Is it going to come out? And I think
Fluffy's going for the pits as well.
Yeah.
Dave the Op just got a little bit twitchy. He's into the invisible wall. Where's Twilight? Where is he? There he is. Can he get back out in the lead? Yes, he can. He's done what Steve F1 couldn't.
Yeah. He's timed that just. What we say, 3/10. Later he'd have been side by side with Jason.
And the thing is now, I mean, Jason right there will have a little bit of a tiny little bit of boost, but Twilight's got fresh tyres. He'll be able to push them as hard as he wants to the end of this race. Jason may have a bit of an opportunity in the first couple of laps of Twilight on those tyres with them being cold. Twilight's played a blinder there. Well, let's put it this way, when he was last earlier on after having a bit of an off and pitting, I didn't see this scenario playing out. But he can't afford to make a mistake now though, because if he does, SGP has a cheeky look, but can't make the move.
I didn't look up inside of here. Looking into turn 1.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the pack cam.
It's 8 minutes to go. Going to kick off a lot more when we get down to that crucial 5-minute mark.
Yeah, well, interestingly, Jason really closed the gap on Twilight at the first corner. Oh, whoa, whoa. Okay, Jason, massive bit of lag there on the pack cam. So yeah, Jason did get really close to Twilight, but I think Twilight was just being cautious with the cold tyres. I think, to be fair, I think he might be, I don't want to say comfortable, it's the wrong word, confident is what I think he will be, especially with Demon R right behind Jason, because Demon R will want to get past Jason, so that could slow Jason down, but also I think Demon R is going to have to focus on Steve F1 because of their championship battle. SGP having a look at Dave the Arp. Dave the Arp going slightly defensive, that'll compromise him. Someone else who's compromised is Gary, Fluffy and Hay, as they're trying to close in on this battle.
Yeah, it looked like SGP was trying to get the wider line in, but hit into the apex to get switched back on.
All switch.
He
was having a look at the switch back there, but I think Dave would managed to cover it off. And well, let's face it, if we get the chance, we'll park it on the apex in front of SGP because that's what he does to everybody else. But yeah,
Dave the Hub's going to have to defend like his life depends on it now, and plus make time up on Steve F1, which isn't easy to do.
No, definitely. Well, that's the thing. Defend and go fast is not easy. Demon R went big time defensive on Steve F1, but got a terrible exit out of the final corner. SGP and Dave Harp side by side on the pack cam. With Steve F1 got this move done. He's close enough to have a look. He's not gone for it though. Either that or Demon R went very late on the brakes. SGP makes the move. Sorry, Ray, if I cut you off there.
I was just going to say Dave the Harp went a wee bit deep on the buds, so that's how SGP got the run.
Yep.
He's wide into turn one.
Oh, massively wide, isn't he? Oh.
He's got to be careful.
He's on the grass. Someone else who was...
Dave the Harp ahead of SGP now. Fluffy's coming in to attack.
Yep, but on the main screen...
He's wide again.
Don't worry about that on the main screen. Oh, Steve F1! It's slowing down! Yeah, I didn't mean.
I was too busy watching.
I didn't mean to cut. I did mean to cut you off because Demon R and Steve F1 had got side by side through one, and then were side by side all the way up to O Sheets. But then on the exit of O Sheets, Steve F1 just didn't seem to go anywhere.
Must like here or something.
Well, yeah, quite possibly, or unless he popped it into reverse again. Something must have happened with SGP. I think he ended up on the grass because SRI is attacking him, and so is Formula Gavin.
No, this came from turn one. Right, Dave the Harp got past. SGP, where you going? He's in the wall. You can't get in the pits that way.
I think we've had a big crash down at one. I'm hearing there may have been a bit of a contact between SGP, or between Gary and SGP, and that's how SGP ended up off the track. We'll see if we hear anything about that one before the end of the race. About 5 minutes to go, 4.5 minutes to go in this race. Twilight still leading. Gary and Hay, I think Hay had a coming together with Gary at turn one. I didn't really see that, we just saw the aftermath as was looking at SGP being parked. I know he likes to park it on an apex, but parking it on the pit straight is a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, Dave the Arp
coming Fluffy behind him.
Well, it's interesting with Dave defending this final corner because it's not an easy corner for someone to overtake you on. So for me, if you were ahead, I wouldn't defend it really because you could lose so much time on the exit. But
yeah, mainly the exit you want to defend so nobody can get this switch back on.
Yep.
So.
Well, Fluffy was looking for a switch back there, but then I think he realised that SRI was there to capitalise. He's now defending. This will allow SGP to close in a bit. This race has gone very quick. It seems. Okay, Dave the Arp still under pressure from Fluffy. The front four spread out a little bit. The Twilight will be open. That Demon R is going to put some pressure on Jason, so Jason can't close in on him. Dave the Arp will be hoping that everybody buggers off and leaves him alone because he wants to get an answer from his CV application to Snoop Doggy Dogg or the D.O. Double G.
SGP and SRI side by side. SGP's took it right round outside. SRI must have been a bit cautious going into the last corner.
He's
Has he got enough space?
Well, he's got the inside line, hasn't he? Up the inside he goes. Yep, SGP's gone a little bit wide, may get a faster exit, but if SRI can be ahead and move across, no, he can't. They're still just about side by side. Now they are side by side as they made their way towards those sheets, and here comes Rich Blues going up the inside. Rich, capitalise. He's trying, he's got a little bit too much understeer, couldn't quite get it in. I heard he doesn't normally have a problem with that. Especially not on his birthday.
Even though the SRI and SGP were battling, look at this, we're all together back up at the tack. Coming back together.
Talking about not having difficulty getting things in, right? I've got a bit of advice for everybody out there as Rich Blues is pressuring SRI, Gary there as well. Yeah, don't bother with lemon flavoured condoms. They make you come in a jiffy.
Rich Blues up? No, it's Dave the Harp.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Dave the Harp's lost the place to Fluffy. We've never seen that whilst you were talking crap.
No, Fluffy, I think, oh yeah, he has. Fluffy's up to 5th. Well, I wasn't talking crap. I was talking sexual advice. So SGP trying to retake the place off Dave the Harp. Gary having a look up the inside into Dunlops. Dave spots him, gives him the room, gets sideways, and here comes... oh no, there goes Dave. I think SRI was in there as well. Just see it on the pack cam as well. We can see that Demon R is closed in on Jason, but Steve F1 has really closed in. We've only got a minute to go.
I don't think Steve F1's going back to first place. I think Twilight played this very well at the moment.
Yeah, well, Twilight's starting last lap.
It's not over until the flag comes down.
Yeah, until the fat flag waves. Demon R goes defensive. Steve F1 tries going round the outside. Can he do it? Side by side they go nearly. SRI and Gary side by side. How is it up into O'Shea? Steve F1 is up the inside. Oh, this is tense. This is crucial for the championship battle. Steve F1
by side.
Yeah, into Dunlops. Oh, Steve F1's gone for the switchback, has he? He has. Demon R's covered him off. Is he going to go defensive? Gary still in the battle. Oh, Steve F1, where are you going? Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Steve?
Is he going to try and get the better drive out there?
Oh, he tried.
He's had a sliding moment. Gary's got on SGP.
Yeah, he has, hasn't he? Twilight, though. Where has this come from? Round the final corner for the final time. Pretty fitting. The invisible wall corner, and invisibly Twilight stuck through to the league to take the win. Jason holds on for 2nd, Demon R 3rd, Steve F1 4th, Fluffy 5th. SGP manages to take 6th place. So close between Gary and SGP and SRI. Hey, and then we've got Rich Blues and Dave the Harp. We saw Dave the Harp. Didn't really fully see what happened with Dave the Harp, but yeah, unfortunate for him. But wow, what a race! That went a lot faster than I was expecting. That's another reason why not to use a lemon flavoured condom.
Yeah, that was a good race. From lap 1 being last till the last lap winning the race. What a job Twilight's done there.
He has had an absolute blinder. Okay,
the best of both worlds. The down of being at the back and then the up of being at the front.
Well, I mean, something we've talked about a lot in this championship is the sort of final stages of a race dictating how somebody feels about how their race has gone. If Twilight is not happy with how his race has gone here, I have no idea about anything anymore. Because last week he complained about, well, didn't complain, in the post-race comments last week, when he was asked about what were his thoughts of this championship, these tracks, blah, blah, blah. He was not happy about racing on go-kart tracks because you can't, it's not racing. The next race on a go-kart track, he wins.
Sorry, what was that?
Well, this was basically a go-kart track and he won.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, my big sighs that you may have been hearing, don't worry, I'm not genuinely sighing. I've done my ribs in, and it hurts when I breathe. So it's not a setup for a joke either. That it's generally I've done something to my ribs. I don't know what. Okay, so at the moment there'll be some post-race comments flashing up across the screen, hopefully, yeah, we just need to make sure we talk long enough to see all those post-race comments. Actually, no. So I think
most of the guys had a good race.
Mm-hmm.
The one, I wonder what happened to Dave the Hart. Was seen him going off?
Yeah.
Contact, or was he still? Because he was a bit of a slide, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, I saw that he was side by side with Gary. Gary was having a bit of a cheeky look into Dunlop's. It didn't look like there was contact between them going in.
That's all right.
Oh. So I don't know if there was contact with SRI on the sort of mid or exit of the corner. Okay. Yeah. Maybe that'll be one for the G spot for next week. We will get onto the G spot in a little while as well. But yeah, I mean, you were saying that. Personally, I think, given the nature of that track, very short, very difficult to overtake, very busy. I think it could have been absolute carnage. I know. Let's put it this way. I know personally, when I was part way through the race, when I was driving around there, I did think maybe these cars are a little bit too big and a little bit too fast for that track. And like I say, lengthwise, it's fine. It is narrow. There's not a lot of margin for error, but I do enjoy driving around there. It's a fun little track, and I can imagine different people will have very different views about that track. But one thing I will say, I'm glad that we've tried it and we've used it, because we get the experience of it. And yeah, I think it could have been an absolute shit show, and I really don't think it was. I think, to be honest, it was a really good race. It was a really tough race, because as we saw, Ray, if people made the small little error, it could be costly.
Yeah.
Right, well, in a moment we'll have a look at the confirmed race result and the championship standings. Before I do, I just want to quickly mention that the next championship, the F1500 that we're going to be using, kind of going a bit special with the liveries, drivers. So if you haven't already got one and you need a livery, feel free to ask SGP what's available. So yeah, kind of going down a bit of a classic route. Also, still haven't got a name yet for that championship. So if you've got any ideas of what we could call it, feel free to let us know. I also want to mention that obviously the G-Spot has been a new feature on the videos, and I think probably from next week we will try doing the G-Spot either much quicker or as a separate video. So yeah, we would like to try and keep the race videos to at least around about an hour, but to be honest, we're finding that the G-Spot could be a very useful tool for everybody to have access to. So yeah, we asked the drivers that in their post-race comments, and it's been interesting to see some of those. But for now, let's check out the confirmed race result and the championship standings. Twilight then taking the victory in the maximum 20 points, a brilliant race from him to take his second win of the championship. Second place goes to Jason. He's done extremely well to fend everybody off in that race. 17 points for him. Demon R finished in third place ahead of Steve F1, so he opens the gap up by another 2 points at the top of the championship. Fluffy Planet, brilliant result for him, finishing in fifth place with SGP in sixth. Formula Gary finished in seventh place, but does get a -3 point penalty. We didn't really get to see what happened there on the race footage, and yeah, we didn't get to put it on this week's G-Spot, so it's something we should hopefully be having a look at on the next G-Spot. In 8th place was SRI, 9 points for him. Hay finished in 9th, 8 points for him. And we've got Rich Blues in 10th, and Dave the Harp finished in 11th. Demon R then topping the table now on 142 points. He's got a 19-point gap to Steve F1 in second place with one race to go and a maximum 20 points available. Steve F1 is going to need a miracle, as Christian Horner would put it. Not much movement in the top half of the championship table after this race, but movement in the amount of points the drivers have got. SGP in third place on 114. He's ahead of Twilight in fourth, who's now on 108 with that brilliant result. Jason still in fifth place on 96 points, and then Dave the Harp has jumped ahead of Formula Gary, with Gary getting that penalty. Gary would have been ahead if it wasn't for that penalty. Rich Blues in 8th place on 64 points. He's ahead of Jimmy in 9th on 53. SRI's in 10th on 45 points, and then Conrad has dropped down to 11th on 42 points. He was hoping to make this race, but was unfortunately unable to at the last moment. Hay in 12th on 38 points, and Bunsell 13th on 36. Fluffy scored more points, but is still in 14th place at the moment, ahead of Mitch in 15th and R-Pow in 16th. I quickly want to mention that some time ago, my girlfriend, when I had one, dressed up as a policewoman and told me I was under arrest on suspicion of being good in bed. After 2 minutes, all charges were dropped due to a lack of evidence.
Jesus.
And on that note,
it's time for the G-Spot.
I couldn't find it. Oh, fuck you know. Right, okay, we'll do a countdown to play. Okay, no, I'm leaving that, but yeah. Okay, so countdown to play in 3, 2, 1, play.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so on this week's G-Spot, there's a few things from last week that we talked about after the race. A couple of overtakes, Dave on Jimmy, Jason on Jimmy. So we're going to have a look at a couple of those. So G1, race 7, Dave finding the gap. Now, this is the view that we had from commentary. And I think one of the things that we kind of see here is that everything's fine here, but when Dave goes to make the move now, as the camera changed, it looks like an aggressive-ish late move. They're a bit slidey here, but in actual fact, when we look at the details of what happened there, at this point Dave is within fair range to attack at the next corner, so Jimmy should already be aware that Dave could potentially attempt the overtake. Dave's definitely within fair range, so it's a little risky, but he's perfectly within his rights to attempt the move. Jimmy perhaps didn't spot Dave or thought it was too late to move and went for the corner. Now, looking at it from Jimmy's view with the virtual mirror, this is where we'll see that it looks like Dave is further back. So from Jimmy's perspective, Jimmy may think that Dave's gone for a bit of a dive bomb and forced his way through at the corner. Unfortunately for Jimmy, that's not what's happened. So here, it also looks like Dave's kind of forced his way through, but as we mentioned, Dave was in fair range. So from a steward's perspective, if I looked at that from a steward, is the first thing I would do is Dave within fair range? And the answer was yes. On the exit of the previous corner, Dave was close enough to Jimmy that he could possibly attempt an overtake into the next corner. And that's something I think some drivers have to be aware of, and things they may see in their virtual mirror that look like late moves, dive bombs, aren't.
Yeah, and also we have the rule of leaving a car's width, so would I say it was a wee bit of racing contact? I'd say that, like Dave went for the move, Jimmy's turned in, there's been slightest of taps or contact, but Dave tried, he's done his best to keep to his side of the track and his left a full car's width on the exit. He's not forced them off the road, so
well, yeah, I mean,
I think it was a very calculated to do that.
Bloody hell. Don't give him a big head. No, I think you're right. I mean, it's Dave wasn't wild at the apex. He wasn't wild on the way in. He wasn't wild at the apex, and he wasn't wild on the exit. He was definitely trying to leave that space. I can fully understand from Jimmy's perspective, it may have felt a bit forceful, but as we mentioned, from a steward's view, you look at it. Are they close enough to attempt the overtake? If the answer to that is no, then the person attempting the overtake would be the one that's more at fault. Because this is the thing, you see, when it comes to attempting an overtake like that, if you're too far back, then whatever happens at the corner is your fault. Now, what we do say is that if you are going to go for a move a bit like that, you have to be aware that the other car might be caught out a bit by you making the move, because they may not have realised that you were close enough to try it. So it's another one of those why we suggest checking the footage after the race. But also, it goes to show why on the main footage that we saw on commentary, Ray, it looked like it was just that... Yeah, it looked aggressive because the camera changed just as Dave pulled out, it just gave the impression that it was an aggressive dive to the inside, when in actual fact it wasn't. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. So I know on last week's race video, Dave may not have been too happy with some of the comments we were making as commentators, but we weren't giving him grief. But hopefully he can understand why, sort of as a commentator, it looked potentially a little bit risky, but when we look at all the footage, yeah, it was alright. Yep. Okay.
We didn't have it at the time, so
exactly.
We went back and looked at it.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, when we're commentating, you can't take everything we say as gospel. So yeah, my joke about not being good in bed, complete truth. Right, okay, let's get ready for the next one, shall we? I've accidentally pressed play when I didn't mean to. So give me a few seconds. Okay, so the next one, just getting into position. Okay, so if we do a quick countdown, 2, 3, 2, 1, and play. So G2, race 7, Jason widening the gap. Now this was a very similar-ish situation where on the main screen it looked like Jason potentially went for a bit of an aggressive move on Jimmy into the hairpin coming up now. So here it kind of looks like a late dive bomb and it all looks a little bit messy. But what I will say here is I believe that Jason backs out of this now and lets Jimmy back through. Okay, so if we follow this on, Jason's actually coming off the throttle, coming off the throttle, coming off the throttle. He's allowing Jimmy to get ahead. Now, I could be wrong on that, but from a steward's view, he's ahead. Now, a couple of things here. This is on board with Jason. At this point, Jason is within fair range to potentially attempt the overtake. Okay? The gap is there for him to attempt it, but Jason would have to be aware that it's risky and is nowhere near the apex. Jason hasn't got his car slowed down enough to make the corner fairly. So this is the difference with Dave, where Dave seemed to do it fairly. Jason here hasn't got the car slowed down enough, isn't fully in control of the car, and from Jimmy's view again, if you look at where Jason is in his mirror, looks like he's miles back. So if you're Jimmy, you ain't thinking about Jason attacking you, but now you're thinking, bloody hell Jason, you just pushed me wide. But that could be because of the virtual mirror, and now I don't know if Jimmy uses that view, I don't know. But there is another factor to this. Jimmy's massively sideways here and still sideways, so he's slower. SRI is slower, which allows Jason to get in that gap. But the whole situation of that particular overtake, what for me was, Jason was within range to attempt the overtake, but would have had to have been aware that Jimmy could have turned in on him. But, as we said before, if you're going to make a move, there are certain boxes you need to tick, and one of the boxes that Jason couldn't tick, well, he ticked, is he close enough to attempt it? He didn't tick, as he managed to hold his line and keep by the apex? The answer is no. He ended up a good car width or two away from the apex, far enough so that SRI could actually undercut him. So because of that, can't tick that box, that could have been an unfair overtake by Jason. So looking at it from a steward's view, potentially it's an unfair overtake. But Jason appeared to make sure that Jimmy was ahead of him on the exit of the corner after the corner, so there would be no further action if it was brought to the stewards. Anything else, Ray?
No, like you said, he's not got it slowed down enough on the hairpin, so there's nothing else to it.
Yep. But it also, I mean, I did use the terminology on purpose there as well, that Jason was not in control of his vehicle. Now, I mentioned in the commentary that you mentioned about someone not being in control. I think it was Twilight when he had a tank slapper or Fluffy or something, I can't remember. And yeah, there is a big difference. Like when we saw Hay, remember Hay had a big tank slapper. No, Fluffy had a big tank slapper and put Hay in the pits. Right. There was nothing Fluffy could do about that. He was not in control of his vehicle because he was still having a crash. That is a very different terminology to Jason here, where Jason was not in control of his vehicle because he hasn't managed to get it slowed down enough and make the corner. So although the wording is the same, the cause or the effect of it is it's a very different scenario. So yeah, but I can understand why Jimmy could have been aggrieved with that one, and why Jason would have given that place back. Okay, on to the next one then. So I'll give a quick countdown. 1, 3, 2, 1, and play. So G3, race 7, Twilight, fill in the gap. So this is the same corner, and this is Twilight on Gary. This again was one from the main feed that we saw. Looked potentially a little bit aggressive, a bit cheeky maybe. Some may think a dive bomb. Twilight's close, but it's this little pop out up the inside. Some may say, what's the difference with Jason to the one with Jason? Well, we're going to have a look, and there are a few key points. Twilight is very close to Gary here. So I would be looking for, is he close enough to potentially make the move? Is he within fair range? The answer is yes, definitely. The gap is there. He's got it slowed down. Can you keep it by the apex? Yes. He is in control of his car. Is he leaving space for the other person? Yes. So Twilight ticks all three boxes here. For Gary, I don't know if he didn't realise that Twilight was that close. When it came to trying to close the door, it was a touch too late. Twilight was already there. For me, that's a lovely move by Twilight. Gary was unfortunate. But again, look at the virtual mirror. I think before this left-hander, it may have looked like Twilight was too far back. And again, on that virtual mirror, it could look too far back. But I don't think Gary uses this view. But for me, that was a perfectly fair overtake for me.
Yeah, what a move.
Yeah, what a move. I mean, look for the gap. He's within fair range. He's got it under control. And yeah, I'm more than happy. And Fluffy, I mean, some may say, oh, Fluffy, that's a late move. You can't do that. Well, unfortunately for Gary, what Fluffy did there was absolutely fine as well. There are differences of when someone comes into a corner way too late unfairly. Fluffy's just taken advantage of the situation there. He's done nothing wrong. Although, if you're Gary, it's bloody annoying because one car sort of catches you out a little bit and another one overtakes you. Okay, anything else to add on that one?
No, got it covered.
Okay, on to the next one then. And 3, 2, 1, play. Gee whiz! Race 7, Steve F1. What gap? Well, Steve, the one in the pit entry. So let's have a good look. Yeah, that's the wall. But interestingly, look, when he hit the second wall, his car automatically went into reverse. But get this for a piss take, right? Somehow his car has come down the pit lane in reverse into the pit box in second, first. Everything's fine. His car gets going, somehow in first, second, now reverse, and that's how he ended up losing the place. So a very interesting situation, and this is the second time that he pitted, and hits the same wall, come to a dead stop, didn't hit the second wall this time, so didn't end up in reverse. So yeah, Jimmy, if you felt bad over the last couple of races about pit entries, don't worry. Steve F1 has just shown that even he can do it, and he's got 4 gold stars on his car. And I am hearing as well that Gary had an interesting pit entry in today's race. So Gary, you might be featuring on next week's G-Spot.
Yeah, that's funny. Come on, it's really should know how to enter a pit. How many time champion is he?
Well, yeah.
See, he's just not got that brown star, has he? He just does it.
No. Yep. The thing is, I'm going to do it at some point as well. I'll do it. It'll be the worst one ever. Okay. Well, trying to go through this pretty quickly because I know Ray's going to need to shoot off in a moment. But we have had a question come through from one of the drivers. I'm not going to say who. I'm not going to give the full question because just saving time. So the question basically is that somebody has heard the commentators mentioning about a push to pass. So they're wanting to know what we would individually class as a push to pass. What the definition of a push to pass is. Now, what I have done is I have asked the admins, there's a lady that I fancy that was outside walking the dogs and she was just bending over. I do apologise, very sexist of me. Push to pass. So I've asked the admins their opinion. I've got theirs, although Ray is an admin. I've given him a heads up about the question, but I haven't got his answer yet, and he hasn't heard the answer from the other admins. So this could be quite interesting. So I don't know, Ray, if you want to give the answer from a commentator's perspective or your view from an admin's perspective, because if each of the admin's perspective is different, then obviously there was going to be a conversation to be had to define what would be classed as a push to pass. But
my view of a push to pass would be somebody deliberately using their vehicle to push the car in front out their way, basically, and taking a position unfairly.
Okay, so would you class, if two cars are side by side, or two cars have got fairly side by side going into a corner, there's a little bit of contact between them, and one car goes past the other, is that a push?
No, they're side by side. Side by side, this is where they're in racing incident mode and less.
Okay, so
the guy wipes them out.
Okay, in that case, so as commentators, if that was potentially what had happened, like all seemed fair in love and war, but as commentators we've got push to pass, is it a push to pass?
No, it's just us
taking the piss.
Taking the piss, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't take us literally, that's what we say.
Yeah, to be fair, yeah, we do say to take the piss. Now, obviously, I've led you with a couple of questions there. One of the reasons is because part of the question that we'd had was from a driver was, I've made a number of overtakes in races that I thought were okay, but on commentary I've heard mentioned about a push to pass. So I've been a little bit confused as to whether what I've done is okay or not. Now, I can't go into each individual one, so I can't 100% say what you've done is fine, because I've not gone into the overtakes to look at them. But that's why they've asked for what the definition of a push to pass is. So if it was two cars fairly side by side, there's a little bit of rub in his racing kind of scenario, is that a push to pass? Or a little bit of it's a little bit of a touch, one car goes a little bit wide, is it a push to pass? Maybe not. My personal definition of it is You see, I'm thinking of it from a very basic view, like a BTCC kind of view, which is there's a car in front of me. I'm going to hit you up the rear end in the braking zone, so you go deep at the corner, and I'm going to go past you on the inside. So I'm going to make you go over speed into the corner. So I'm going to push you out of the way, and then I'm going to go around the corner past you. That's a very sort of basic way of looking at it. Another way would be nearly a dive bomb. So going through an overtake from too far back, and the only reason you've completed the overtake is because the other car has ended up being your brakes, and you've hit them out of the way. So not a rubbing bit of content, you've hit them out of the way. Now, from the other admins, I think their comments were quite interesting. Obviously, Ray, you said you'd not heard this before, which you haven't. Okay, so let me get to it. Okay, so from one of them, for me, it's where there isn't space to make an overtake, but you create it by pushing the car in front wide. So there isn't room for you to overtake, so you've pushed the car out the way. So a bit like okay, so we've just seen Jason on Jimmy, right? If Jason was further back and not in fair range, and Jimmy had turned into the corner already and was fine where he was, Jason's car comes in, hits Jimmy out the way, Jason goes round the corner, that for me would be a push to pass, comes under unfair overtake, because the space isn't theirs to make the move. The other one, I mean, if you disagree with these, Ray, you can mention it in a moment as well. The other one, push to pass is a mechanism on a race car which provides the driver with the ability to increase the car's power for short periods, usually via a button on the steering wheel. The system is designed to make overtaking easier. Yeah, you know who said this one. To make overtaking easier and hence make the sport more exciting to watch. Seriously though, when the contact from the attacking car moves the defending car enough to create the space to make the overtake possible. So from all four of our comments, the feature is there is not the room for you to make the overtake, and you create the space to make the overtake by pushing another car out the way. Now, some people may misinterpret what Dave's move on Jimmy, that's not a push to pass. Dave's move on Jimmy was from his fairly attempted, fairly completed. He didn't move Jimmy out the way to make the move. If it had hit Jimmy up the arse in the braking zone, pushed him wide and gone past, different scenario. So yeah, anything else to add on that?
Yeah, or if he didn't get the apex and smash Jimmy off the road completely, then yeah, that would have been pushed to pass, but he didn't. There was very little contact where they were turning in. Jimmy was turning in, Dave the Hart was taking the corner, so yeah. Well, so there could be, it's very fine definition of trying to because you're side by side and you don't want somebody smacking you. Just don't want people thinking, well, side by side, it wasn't a push to pass.
Yeah, you can still unfairly overtake someone when you're side by side if you push them off the track or you're too aggressive. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I was going to say, could Jason's move on Jimmy effectively have been a push to pass? I don't think that's the terminology I would have used, given that. But I suppose, in a way, because Jason wasn't in control of his car, the space that Jimmy's car would have used is where Jason's car ended up. So yeah, Jason did push Jimmy out the way. If he'd have gone on to complete that overtake, he could have been open to getting a penalty. I wouldn't have put it down as a push to pass as a steward. I'd have put it down as an unfair overtake.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, feel free to ask us more questions, anything, stuff like that. I'm gonna have to let Ray go in a second. At the end of the day, it's handy getting these questions in, because if we can answer them and clear things up, it really does help. I just want to quickly mention that one of my best mates, his mum and dad are dwarfs, and all their lives they really struggled to put food on the table.
Should have lowered the table.
Yeah, but it could be worse, because I'm reading a horror story in Braille. Something bad is going to happen. I can feel it.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, I've got one more.
Your G-spot's been the only good one today.
Yeah. I know you.
Yeah, you need to put it in.
Yeah. I know you like your cooking, Raymond, right? So tonight I'm having a special dinner. Tonight I'm having Himalayan rabbit stew for dinner. I found him Himalayan in the road.
What?
I found Himalayan in the road. Yeah. Right, and on that bombshell, I'll let Ray go, and I'll talk to us about the next track. Right, thank you very much, Ray.
No worries. Pick it up.
So on to the final track of the Expo Championship, Laguna Seca, 2.24 miles in length, 13 turns. The Andretti hairpin being down at turn 1, but it's the Rahal Straight that leads up to the corkscrew, the famous corner. Probably up there as one of the most famous corners in the world. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how everybody negotiates that, and then into Rainy Curve and the final corner. It's a track that'll punish anyone that goes wide or gets put wide or hits a sausage curb at the wrong angle. It can punish you, but these cars are great fun to drive around that particular circuit. So personally, I can't wait to see how everybody gets on for the final race of the championship, and to see if Demonari is going to get that number 7 title, or if somehow Steve F1 is going to perform a miracle. Okay, thanks for joining, everybody. Feel free to check out the Dynamic GT League merch that is available. Link is in the description. And if you want custom items making designs doing for you, feel free to let us know. Alright, have a good one, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed. Hit like, subscribe, hit that notifications bell. It won't hit you back. It'll just give you the information about when we're next live, or when perhaps the G-Spot gets released as its own separate thing. If only that could be available for every man. We might then be able to do more with it. Right, have a good one, everybody, and we'll see you all again soon.